Hi everybody, I'm Jeff Mayers from WisPolitics.com, here for an in-person luncheon at the Madison Club. As things progress, we're going to do more and more of these. We still have some virtual programs coming up, but we're going to have 2 in-person luncheons in consecutive weeks. Next week we have Governor Tony Evers on St. Patrick's Day. I don't know whether Governor Evers is Irish, but we'll be wearing green on St. Patrick's Day. So if you're interested in that program, please go online at WisPolitics.com or the Madison Club and sign up for that. Also want to plug our new printed directory. There's still a need for a printed directory, so you can get a free copy from Colin. Colin, where are you? Wherever Colin is, there he is. He's in the back. You can get a free copy of these if you want to order them in bulk. See Colin and he'll make you a deal. I want to thank our sponsors for this Madison Club event series. Couldn't do it without them, of course. And we have a new sponsor. I want to welcome Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield as a sponsor to the Madison Club series. Also ARP Wisconsin, Walmart, American Family Insurance, Xcel Energy, and Hush Blackwell Strategies. Hush Blackwell, under a former name, is, I'm not going to interfere with the branding by mentioning the former name, but they were among the first sponsors of the Madison Club series. So I want to thank Mike Rogalski and his team. Mike, wave to the crowd now. I want to thank Mike Rogalski and his team for being part of this programming. And without further ado, I want to welcome our special guest, UW System President and former Governor Tommy Thompson. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. You know, how many times have you interviewed me over the years? Have you ever stopped
Well,
with
what a
me?
hit parade that would be. Yeah, quite a number. And I'm the best interviewer you've ever encountered.
Well, there's
right?
no question about that. I mean, that goes without saying. And it will be until the end of this one, then we'll decide.
Yeah, I know. Some of your staffs have already warned me about that I better, watch it.
Why?
I don't know. They think I'm going to get you in trouble.
Well, that's your job, isn't it?
Ah, thank you. I've got clearance now.
What?
I got the green light now.
Well, go ahead, fire away. I mean, I'm happy to be on your program as always, and it's great seeing you. Great seeing so many of my acquaintances and friends, and appreciate very much everybody's here. And I got people over there watching me. You know, the Hawkeye, and then I got my daughter over here who will make sure I don't say anything too provocative. So it'll be an interesting hour.
Okay, we'll keep it fast-paced
All
and
right.
interesting for everybody. Okay, so we're going to start off with some sad news, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
And former state senator and former lieutenant governor Margaret Farrow has died, and so I think, of course, you know Margaret very well, and I guess if you can reflect a little bit on her impact with the state of Wisconsin, and of course, she's been a long time board chair of Wisconsin Eye. They're here today, and they're recording this.
Margaret Farrow was one of the most unique individuals that I've ever had the privilege to meet. I loved her dearly. Anybody who met her and got to know her loved her. She was that kind of a person. I called her the Margaret Thatcher of Wisconsin politics. She was as tough as nails, but had an inner core that was so gentle and nice, and she loved something that's lacking today, and that's problem solving and getting a solution to the problems. She was a mayor of Elm Grove, and when I first got to know her, and how many of you in this room remember the old sewer wars? Anybody remember the sewer wars? I know Sue Bergeron does. And Margaret was the mayor of Elm Grove and took it upon herself to come to Madison and make sure we knew that it was not right to force those communities to join with Milwaukee and dig the deep tunnel. And it was a contrary view, and Margaret was great at it, and she articulated that view tremendously. And I remember calling her into the minority leader's office and talking to her, and I said, you know, you're so good, we need you up here. Why don't you run for the state assembly? She said, you know, Tommy, I've been thinking about that. And she did, and won, and stayed in the state assembly for several years, then went on to the state senate. And then when I left and Scott McCallum took over as governor, he appointed her as the lieutenant governor. Every job she's ever held was with diplomacy, distinction, a toughness, and a kindness that only Margaret could prevail. She was a wonderful woman. She loved her family, her husband, Paul, and all her 4 boys. She loved them all, and they called me this morning and told me that she had passed. And I said, how's the family doing? And she said, Paul said, he said, you know, we're sitting around and we are telling Margaret stories. And everybody is having a good time talking about their mother and wife. And that was the type of person. She would not want people to be sad. She would like people to remember her as what she stood for and what a classy woman she was. The Margaret Farrell of Wisconsin politics.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, yes, let's clap for Margaret Farrell.
And all on top of it, you know, we got that sad news with Margaret, but we got also Aaron Rodgers is committed to 4 years. So I don't know if you're an Aaron Rodgers friend, that's good. If you aren't, then it's not so good. But
Well, it's bad news for the Bears, anyway.
yeah, you know why the Bears do not have you know why Iowa does not have a professional football team?
I'll be your straight man. Why?
Because if Iowa got one, then Chicago would want one too.
All right. He's here all week, ladies and gentlemen. All right. That's what I'm going to have to deal with today. Okay. I've already lost control of the program. We're only 5 minutes in. Okay. So next week you're ending your tenure as UW System
That is
President.
correct. Mm-hmm.
It's like you can't keep a job. I mean, you were the minority leader, and then you're the governor, HHS.
You know,
secretary.
if the Democrats would have been smart, and if they would have let me be speaker, I would never run for governor. But they wouldn't give me the speakership, so the only way I could get things done is I had to run for governor, and I did, and I won a 7-member primary with 52% of the vote. And the day of the election, you and all the rest of the press, the day of the governorship election, you and every member of the press, there were 38 of you, all voted who was going to win. It was 38-0 for Tony Arrow, and I won by 100,000 votes. Just so not that I don't remember. I just want.
Elephants always remember.
I remember certain things.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, UW System President, you know, it's been sort of the best failed search in UW System history. So
that's what some people say. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, really, you had a lot to grapple with. You know, COVID, funding issues, your declining enrollments, all that. And I'm just wondering, what's your takeaway in terms of the lessons that that you learned from being in that office? Certainly, as governor, you knew the system and dealt with the system, but being running the system is a different perspective. I mean, what's your takeaway?
My takeaway is the following. The system is badly needed. The system was very weak. The system had given away too much power, too much authority over the years. So when I went out there, I inherited a system that was very weak and very much controlled by the chancellors. And I called and by the way, we have some of the best chancellors in the world. They're outstanding chancellors. But our first meeting was the first week in July, and they had closed down the campuses the previous semester because of COVID. A lot of us started closed out completely. Others just had everything on the computer, and there was no in-person teaching, and they couldn't get out of there fast enough. So the question was, what do we do for the fall semester? We had a 2-hour meeting on Zoom, and I asked them at the end of the 2-hour meeting, go give and take. I said, well, what's your decision? And the chancellor said, our decision is we need another meeting. I said, no, that's not the way I do things. I said, we have a meeting to make a decision. I'm making a decision. We're opening up September 3rd. You could have heard a pin drop, and then several of them said, you can't do it. We're not going to open up. And I said, yes, you're going to open up, and we'll open up on September 3rd. When I opened up, there were at least a half a dozen of the universities that didn't want to open up. They wanted to stay closed. And that's why you need somebody, when there's really tough decisions, somebody's got to make a decision. And you know me, I'm not afraid to make a decision. And so I made a decision. Second thing is that I found, I said, now I'm talking to myself, I says, now you made the decision, you got to make sure that the students and the faculty and everybody is safe and healthy. And so I opened up, I started the testing program, and we had, with a lot of help with some great chancellors. And we had a fantastic testing program for all the comprehensive in Milwaukee, but Madison wanted to do their own, so they went by themselves. We set up a testing program that was really so complete that it got the attention of a lot of people at the national level. And I invited in people from CDC and the Deputy Secretaries of Health and Human Services, and they came. And they came several times to look it over. And they came in finally, and they asked me if I could do this for the community at large. And I said, yes, if you give me the money. And little be known that they spent over $50 million in the state of Wisconsin for us to do the testing. And I started out with the idea that the Wisconsin idea is for education, but I wanted to expand it so that the new Wisconsin idea is not only for education, but to solve the problems of society. And so I keep telling people in my speeches, if you have a problem, come to the university. There's no better place, no better opportunity to solve those problems than at the university, and we've done that. And then the next thing was vaccination. And I was able to get all the chancellors to agree. We set up vaccination programs on all the campuses, and it worked out extremely well, and the federal government wanted us to do it for the community at large, which we did. Once again, solving a problem for the state. And our vaccination program, then I wanted to make sure that I got more students vaccinated, so I started the Smashing COVID. Some of you might have seen Smashing COVID little vignettes, and we set that up, and it worked out very well. And I said, if you got 70% of your students vaccinated, we'd give up 70 full scholarships, and 12 out of the 13 universities. Madison didn't participate, so there was 11 out of the 12 comprehensives that were over 70%, and we gave out 70 scholarships. It was a fantastically successful program, and I went to all the campuses, and it was just amazing how they got into it, competing with other campuses, trying different things. So it's been extremely successful, but to get back to the fact, when you have a huge problem, you're going to have a strong University of Wisconsin system, and somebody at the head of it has got to be making the decisions.
Right. So the system is, started in 1970. It's hard to imagine the state of Wisconsin higher education landscape without the UW system that happened under Pat Lucey.
It did.
And that was a monumental achievement by Governor Lucey.
It
And
was.
so, right, and so I think you mentioned UW system is still needed more than ever. And I'm wondering how you see the future for the UW system, because the declining demographics, declining numbers, you have all these, a lot of duplication with the tech colleges, and I'm wondering whether how you see the future rolling out for this system.
Well, first off, the system has been there over 50 years now, and I was in the legislature. That's how old I am when we set up the system. The system is still badly needed because there has to be sort of a referee with all the 11 comprehensives and the 2 researchers. Otherwise, Madison will dominate completely, and it's the flagship, and it's the most powerful one. You got to have a referee, but you got to have somebody making decisions. The declining enrollment here are the huge problems facing the university system. We have a population in which we are the 28th. We're the 35th state as far as growing in this country. Just think of that, 35th. Now, on top of the fact that we're not growing very rapidly in the state of Wisconsin population, add to that the fact that couples are not having that many children, or individuals are not having that many babies. Therefore, you have going into K through 12, you see the demographics, you see a leveling off and a sort of a decline. So the number of students going into the university system, the pool that you're looking for is declining. Add to this is something that you probably don't know about. Add to the fact that you have this declining enrollment. It used to be when you went to college, I'm pointing to you figuratively out there, the number of students in your graduating class was 35% that went on to college. Then it dropped to 33% and was level at 33% for many years. Now it's declining again from 33% down to 27%, on its way to 25%. So you have a declining enrollment in high school, graduating, and then you have fewer students choosing to go on to college and university. Now you add to all of this, that's a huge problem facing us in the state. Then you add to that the fact that there are 54 vocational schools in the state, coupled with 26 University of Wisconsin system campuses, the 2 years and the 4 years. So you got 54 and 26. That's a lot of campuses. And a lot of the 2-year campuses and the vocational schools share the same parking lot. They have adjoining buildings, and yet they compete for the same students. Now, to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. It seems that we're competing against each other for the same students. And what we should be doing is we should have a blue ribbon task force. I can't do it because everybody would think I'm biased for the University of Wisconsin system, and of course I would be. So you have the vocational schools and you have the university systems competing. You need a citizens panel like the old Kellett Commission. How many of you remember the old Kellett Commission? We haven't studied higher education in over 50 years. We have duplication, and we cannot afford it. I don't think we should close down campuses. I'm not for that. But you should be able to make some coordination between the vocational schools and the university so you have a better degree of higher education and don't waste and spend that much time on competition. We need to assimilate, and we need to cooperate, and we need to grow better, smarter, and that's why I think a blue ribbon task force would be the best thing. And then you add to that the need to get more students. And you hear a lot of people tell you that you don't need to send your son and daughter on to college. They're talking to a lot of students saying, you know, it's not important to go to college anymore. And I'm out there saying just the opposite. It's more important today ever to send your students on to college and vocational school. Vocational school has a tremendous worth, and it should be utilized. But let's take a look at the problems facing Wisconsin right now. Those problems are, we have a shortage of teachers, right? We have a shortage of nurses, right? We have a shortage of doctors, right? We have a shortage of engineers. We have a shortage, and I never thought I would say this, but we have a shortage of lawyers in the state of Wisconsin. My daughter is the head of the public defender, and she can't find enough lawyers to handle the caseloads. And up in northern Wisconsin, if you retire as a lawyer, you can't find another lawyer coming in. All of these shortages, how do you fill these shortages? I got plans on all of these how to fill them, but I know you want to ask another question. But these are the problems facing. And that is why higher education is more important today to solve the problems of the state of Wisconsin immediately. And that's why all of you need to be my missionaries out there. And you need to be telling people, your young people that ask you, yes, college is important. And all of these individual shortages, I've got answers for, but you got to ask me the question. There's ways to solve all of these problems, but it takes a strong University of Wisconsin system and a strong vocational system, because you look not only on where you're going to get individuals for teachers and engineers, we also need policemen, we also need welders, we also need prison guards. You name it, we got shortages. Those individuals need to have the training from the vocational school. And all of these, that's why it's important. That's why you need a blue ribbon task force, but all these problems can be solved by higher education. And that's what we have to do, and that's why it's so darn important to get our young people to recognize the importance of a college degree or a vocational degree. Go ahead, I know I'm talking too much, and I know you get paid by asking questions, so.
This is really easy. My list of questions is not that important now, because I get to ask fewer of them. Anyway, what about, would free community college, would free tech college help?
Absolutely. You know, why not?
Well, why does Biden have such a hard time getting that through Congress?
I don't know. I mean, we want more diversity. We want more first generation families to send their children to college and technical college. We got to diversify, and we got to be able to attract them. And maybe vocational school, maybe the 2-year campuses, I'm not saying this because you'll print it and I'll get calls all day. That's why the Blue Ribbon Task Force. But, you know, a community college, a vocational school and a 2-year college, and allow those students to go there free, why not? It'll be a great feeder, and get everybody that wants to get some higher education the opportunity to go. I mean, the state is not lacking money right now. And all of these problems that I've laid out, that all of you, I saw you agreeing, and you do, can be solved. So what's wrong with having reduced tuition or free tuition or something, and allow them to go to either technical school or the University of Wisconsin, or put them together and have a community college? All of these things are solutions that we need to, as a society, need to address and look at and accept.
Okay, I'm going to move on to some health issues.
Yeah.
So you were National Health Secretary, HHS
I was.
Secretary.
Yeah, I was a legislator, I was a governor, I was a health secretary, I was.
Well, if we go through your resume, we'll never get out of here.
Now I've got to look and find out what the hell I'm going to do now when I grow up.
So, you mentioned the CDC, and it seems like the federal government's often been a follower, not a leader on this, and not just under Trump, but under Biden too. And
Absolutely, both of them.
And the CDC, I think, is under particular scrutiny because of conflicting advice, and the HHS secretary, whether the leadership on this issue is coming out of the White House and then out of the CDC. But I'm wondering whether you think the CDC should be, it wasn't really meant to be a rapid fire issuer of declarations. It was meant to take a long view of healthcare policy. So I'm wondering whether you think the CDC needs to be revamped.
I think not only CDC, but we need a lot of revamping in the federal government. Why do I say that? Well, basically, when you take a look right now at public health is becoming an extremely important issue. But nobody invests in public health. You don't get legislators or individuals in Congress standing up and introducing bills for public health. Very seldom. And when I came in as secretary, I was amazed at the paucity of funds going into public health. And we had 9/11, remember that? And 9/11 came and everybody was shocked at the fact that there was hardly any resources available to take care of it. I remember I was able to get a plane in the air by 5 o'clock that day, and the only one outside of the Air Force, I believe, that got an airplane in the air to deliver 50 tons of medical supplies to New York by 5 o'clock. I declared a state of an emergency. I don't know if I had the power to do it, but Cheney was locked in the basement of the White House, and President Bush was circling around. So I was on the duty, and I got a plane in the air, and we delivered 50 tons of medical supplies. But I was amazed after that we really had no way of getting to the cities and to the counties the necessary public needs and necessities that they have. And so I was very successful thanks to Congress. Congress threw money at me. I mean, without asking, they were throwing money because they didn't know what else to do, so they spent money and threw it into public health. We rebuilt the public health system. But after several years, not just because I left or anybody, but after several years, the same thing happened. So when we had COVID-19, what happened? The public health system was as poor as it was when I inherited it back when I took over as secretary. We had not kept up. And what we need to do is we need to invest in public health. That means a reorganization of the Department of Health and Human Services and have a division of public health. And CDC, to this day, is still the best department in the world to find out what COVID-19 is, what any of the other infectious diseases are. They are the best experts any place in the world. They were the ones that found HIV. They're the ones that found monkeypox. They were what was the thing? Ebola. What was the stuff that exploded in envelopes? Anthrax. And now COVID. They're the ones that discovered it. And that's why they're very important. They should not be in the public relations. They should be in the responsibility of finding out what causes this bacteria, what causes this infection.
Right, so they were miscast. They were miscast to be issuing public advice, quick public advice.
That should be left up to the people in Congress and the President of the United States. It should not be given that up. Although they were very good to the university. I mean, I got $50 million from CDC and Department of Health and Human Services for our testing program, and more than any other state got. Might have been my connections, but they liked what we were doing and did it. And that was important. It solved us, made us unique in the country for continuing to operate the university.
Do you think we're ready for the next pandemic?
No, we're not. But it's coming. Pandemic's coming. That's why you got to put more money into public health, and you got to set up a division of public health and use that in conjunction with the researchers at CDC and get ready for it. The next Ebola, the next COVID-19. Omicron was just another one. There's going to be another variant. Let's face it. I mean, there will more than likely be another variant, and there will be another infectious disease, more than likely coming from Asia, because that's where they usually come and they circulate around the globe. And whether it be from China or not, who knows, but it more than likely will come from that area of the world. And we have to be ready for it. And that's why the investment in public health at the state level and the national level is so darn important, so that the citizens know. I would much rather have the state of Wisconsin have a real fantastic public information arm in the public health arena in the Department of Health and Human Services that could get up-to-date information from not only Department of Health and Human Services, from NIH, which is outstanding, and CDC, compile that and use that information to make out the pronouncements for the state of Wisconsin and other states. That's the direction we should go. But I'm not president. You know, I ran for that and I never got out of Iowa. So.
Yeah, well, Iowa. All right. So, so you knew Dr. Fauci, obviously, when you in the Bush administration took leadership on fighting AIDS. Do you think he's getting a bad rap?
Sure he is. Tony Fauci is an outstanding scientist. He's a very close friend of mine, and we talk frequently. Tony Fauci was able to find what HIV was all about. He's a profound scientist. The problem is, nobody knows what COVID-19 was going to do or that. They were speculating based upon the best research they got, best information they got. And when you got a brand new infectious disease circulating, it's very contagious, and you're trying to think ahead 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and people in the United States are not very patient. Did you know that?
I've seen that.
Okay, and so they want an answer now. When you have a brand new disease, and you really don't have all the details, and you don't know what's going to result because we've never gone through it, and Tony is trying to speculate a little bit, that's where he made the mistake. You can't speculate on a disease that you don't really know. But Tony is a fantastic person, a great scientist, and I think he's getting misjudged, but I also think he probably, based upon pressures from the White House, I think he was trying to deliver messages that probably were not scientifically based as good as they should have been. Okay?
All right. So this brings me to the state of the Republican Party. It's not really your Republican Party anymore, is it?
I'm going to tell you something, my good friend. When I took the job at the University of Wisconsin 20 months ago, I said that I would not be partisan while I'm president of the University of Wisconsin. I have adhered to that religiously, and I'm not going to break that promise 10 days before I retire. I've got.
Well, just between us, then, what do you think?
I've got definite ideas and answers, but you come and talk to me in April, and we will have this talk. You want me back in April? I will give you my opinion.
Every other month we'll have you back.
But right now, I am not going to get into any partisan. You can ask me questions, but I'm not going to be partisan.
I'm asking you as
That's a partisan question, and that would require a partisan answer that you would like to get me in trouble for.
I'm not trying to get you in trouble.
Yeah. I got 10 or 11 more days, and then I will be more than happy to answer partisan questions and.
Okay. well,
And
let me-
I'll tell you this much, I am a Republican, will always be a Republican, okay?
yeah.
All right?
I've heard that before, all right.
All right.
So let me ask you this, how would you define your relationship with the Republican legislature?
I think fantastic. I mean,
Even Steve Noss?
well, Steve is difficult. But I still consider him a friend. I don't think he considers me a friend anymore, but, I mean, I had a job to do. My job was to open up the university and keep it open. And that required, in order for me to do that, I had to have a masking policy. Otherwise, the professors would not teach. Now, my job and responsibility is to keep that university open. And I did. And it required masking, I went with masking. It required testing, and I set up a testing program and a vaccination program. And we kept everybody safe. And I want to be able to announce today that on the University of Wisconsin campuses, we have no new cases of COVID-19 yesterday or today on any of our comprehensive campuses. Only Madison had 6 cases. That's amazing. And so that's it. But I think the legislature recognized that, and the legislature supported me. We got a lot of legislation in this thing. We didn't get as much money as I wanted to. And I think it was their mistake, but that's neither here nor there. And I'll tell you rhetorically, the University of Wisconsin gets 16% of its funding from the state of Wisconsin. We're a $6 billion operation. We have 170,000 students. We graduate 37,000 graduate year in and year out, 37,000. 90% of which stay in the state of Wisconsin. And we return about $24 billion in research and everything else and all the employees, 40,000 employees back to the state of Wisconsin. Now, you're a smart man.
Yeah, repeat that.
Now, you're a smart man. Since the state gives me 16%, if I said to you, you give me 16 cents, I turn around and give you 84 cents back. How often would you do that?
A lot.
As often as you can reach your back pocket and pick up 84 cents, right? That's why when you look at the details and look at the figures, just think of this. 16% and we give back $24 million. That's a huge 24 to 1 operation. Don't you think if you were there, you'd say, good Lord, I'm going to give them more money. And that's the return. And the problems we have are problems that can be fixable, are shortages, our communications, our IT security, our transportation systems, our supply system. Who's going to fix those? We can fix them on the University of Wisconsin campus. That's why I think they're missing an opportunity. I'm not criticizing them because they were good to me. In fact, they even named a room after me, the parlor. And I really love that because that's the place where I asked Sue Ann out, my wife, on our first date. She came up to lobby me and I said I could, she wanted to give money to the Milwaukee School District, and I said, no, I could do that, but I'll take you out for lunch. And that happened in the parlor, and true story. And they named the parlor after me, so I would say that's an indication that they still like me.
They still like.
They still like me, and I love them. And I just think that they made a mistake in not investing in the system that could really solve problems. Go ahead.
Well, right,
I'm doing too much talking.
No,
I know.
but right, but I mean, what would Whitewater, what would River Falls, what would Stevens Point, what would Eau Claire be without a UW system school?
Let's talk about that. Eau Claire is just think of this. Eau Claire, I don't know if you've been to Eau Claire lately. It's booming. Eau Claire is booming. They have reached an agreement with Mayo Clinic to build a building. Mayo's going to help. University's going to do it. It's going to be a 350,000 square foot science building. And I don't know if you've been to Arizona and saw the marriage of Mayo Clinic with Arizona State. They're joined together and putting out all kinds of health degrees. And it's a huge thing. We're going to do the same thing in Eau Claire with this new science building with a partnership with Mayo. And we're going to turn out health workers, health supervisors, nurses, you name it, it's going to be coming out of that city. And then on top of it, the city and the university are building $125 million, $125 million field house, and $75 million of it was given by the Sontags. It's going to be, for the Chippewa Valley, it's going to be the attraction for all the plays, all the symphonies, all that, all the sports are going to take place in this fantastic place. And with Mayo there, turning it in, I said to Eau Claire, why don't we see if we can annex Rochester, Minnesota, and bring it all over? But Eau Claire is going to be booming. Now, River Falls is this, we just got a new chancellor, and she's wonderful. She's a scientist in animal cells and techniques on transportation or in vitro transfers. She is going to turn that campus into a place where you can go for the best sciences in agriculture, and we turn out the agricultural teachers on that campus. The 90% of the ag teachers in our schools come from River Falls. Where are they going to go if we didn't have River Falls? And then you take Superior up there. Superior is growing. And they got a transportation program that's being sought after all over this country. These are the gems that are going to build these communities and build the regions. And that's why, and Jeff was over there with Stevens Point. Graduate Jeff is a big fan of Stevens Point, as I am. And we got these campuses, and they're just starting to boom and starting to grow. And that's why we need more students and more opportunity and more money and more resources. And here's a Republican saying more resources, but I'm accurate and I know what I'm talking about. And that's why the investments are for the future. And so.
Okay, so what's your next act then? I hear that you're thinking about running for governor.
You see that little girl there?
Oh yeah, she's going to come up and take the microphone away from you.
Yeah,
right?
but I'm going to tell everybody, I have never taken time off to spend, looking at what I really want to do. It's always been, I ran for the legislature, I want to be governor, I run for governor, but then never any space in between. When I was secretary, I wanted to go into business. I wanted to run some businesses and make some money because I'd been in government almost 40 years or over 40 years. And so I wanted to see if I could be successful in business. And I started several businesses I was on 25 boards when they came and asked me to be head of the university. I've done well. And I appreciate that. I'm not bragging, I've just been very lucky. But as soon as I left the the secretary's job, I didn't know if anybody'd hire me. So anything that came along, I said, oh yeah, I can do that. And I ended up with 3 full-time jobs. Partnership at Deloitte, partnership at Aiken Gump, and running LHI. Impossible, but I thought that I could do it. And I'm still working some of those problems out, but I didn't do it. So, and I came in and I didn't expect the university. I turned them down a couple times, and they finally came back and I said, if you can get every member of the Board of Regents to support me, I would do it. And they did, and I supported it. And I've loved it. Absolutely have loved running the university system. But now, I'm not gonna retire. I'm only 80. I'm not gonna retire, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spend a month. I'm gonna spend a month talking to my family, and I'm also gonna go skiing, and I'm also going to look at anything and everything out there that's possible. Several people have asked me to run for governor, and I said, talk to me in April. If you really want me to run, come and see me in April and talk to me, and we'll talk. But until then, I'm not going to make any decisions, yes or no, but that's what I've told everybody, and that's what I intend to do, and we'll see what happens.
I'm told you're considering it more seriously than people think.
I would say that that is a misnomer.
Okay.
Okay?
Bad sourcing from
What?
your friends, then.
What?
Huh? That comes from your friends.
Oh, I'm sure my friends would love me to run. Some of my friends, not all of them. Some of my friends wouldn't, but I'm not going to hurry into anything. I've got many choices. I can retire. You know, some people retire by the time they reach 80. And so I could retire. I've got a big farming operation. I can go farm. I can be on some boards. I can start some more businesses. I could run for public office, not necessarily for governor, but I could run for mayor of Elroy. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know I will be doing something, and I don't know what it is, and you will be one of the first to know.
You're one of the first, yeah.
Yeah. In fact, if you want to come and talk to me in April about what you think I should do, that's fine too. But I'm going to talk to a lot of people and take my time, good-natured time, to decide exactly what I want to do.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's take a couple quick questions from the audience. You remember Stu Levitan over there? Shout out, Stu.
Stu Levitan and I have been friends for 40 years, and we've never agreed politically on anything.
That's true.
But I love him dearly, and he's been my friend, my advisor on many things. Usually his advice is crappy.
If you run for governor, I will vote for you in the Republican primary.
All right.
Absolutely, I promise. I had a really good question about gubernatorial legislative relations, but I don't think you'd answer it for another 11 days. So I'll ask a softball. Looking back on your career, are there any things, either in terms of policies or procedures, that you've substantially changed on, that you've now seen a different light, that you would have done differently?
Oh, many things.
Could you share some of them?
Oh, God, there are many things. You sort of catch me off guard on that one, but yeah, you make mistakes. You make mistakes. One of the mistakes, I built too many prisons. To solve that problem, however, but it was at that time there were a couple individuals. I can't remember the names of the case, but there was a case in Milwaukee that somebody just gotten out, very little on bail, and got out and raped somebody, killed somebody, and the public was crazy, mad about it. There was somebody that got out and had raped a college girl and killed her, and he had gotten out of prison and immediately thereafter committed this crime. And so the feeling at that time was we needed to do it. We did solve the law and order question, there's no question about it. Crime went way down after the prisons were built and we put people in, there's no question about that. But I think there's a better way, and that's why I am so excited about the fact that I just got $5.5 million to encapsulate one of my ideas, and that is to turn a prison into a college. And just think about this. We have about 22,000 prisoners. We release about 8,000 individuals a year. 40% of them will go back into prison within 3 years. 40% of the ones we release. And that costs the taxpayers $35,000 a year to incarcerate that individual. I want to be able to take my idea, Stu, and when you come into prison, you go through a classification, figure out, whether or not 70% of our prisoners have got some type of college and are high school graduates. I want to go through a classification of that prisoner, find out what education he does, what sort of aptitudes he has. And then I want to work with WMC and with employers and find out what they need. Now, what is a big problem we got? We got a big problem with employees in the state, right? We need more employees, don't we? Why don't we marry up the employers with the prisoner and teach them the kind of courses so that when he or she gets out of prison, they can matriculate into that business and get a good paying job and will not have to resort to any crime. He's taken care of or she's taken care of. They got a good occupation. We won't have the rate of recidivism. My job is to break the rate of recidivism, matriculate prisoners through the system, and give them the kind of training necessary, and then give them a graduation. I want an actual graduation out of prison, and give them a diploma, and have an employer there offering him a job, or her a job. Be the first in the country, but just think about that. To me, that's the kind of thinking that we have to take place in this modern society. And that, I made the mistake, now I want it, this is a solution to that problem of too many prisoners, and we can actually matriculate that prisoner through, give them the training necessary, give them a job or her a job, give them a graduation, and then also, just like student loans, have them pay back some of the money, but have them be a taxpayer and a meaningful job. That is what I want to do.
All right. Time for a couple more questions, quick questions.
Yep, fire away.
Governor, what would you do with the system? And full disclosure, I do some work with you, Bill Clare, as you know. The building commission process seems like a long process.
No, it's terrible.
The question was from Sean about
I disclosed.
the building commission process, and you used to hold court at the building commission, Governor.
I did.
You've seen both sides of the table.
I've seen both sides. Let's take a look at right now. Right now, what's interest rates? 2%?
Public instruction.
Huh?
Yeah.
We can borrow 2%. That's almost like free money. And what's the problem? It takes too damn long, pardon my language, too damn long to get a building from idea and concept through the Board of Regents, then through the legislature, then through the governor, then through DOA, and DOA controls all the bidding and the building and so on and so forth, and the universities have no control over that. Now, everybody plays a good role, but I could develop a system, Sean, that we could cut that time by 24 months, okay? 24 months is real money. Real money, and we can build buildings faster and better. And that's what needs to be done. It's too time consuming, too laborious, too many meetings, too many programs, too many people have to sign off.
Private sector doesn't understand. They're just like, why is it?
Private sector doesn't understand, and neither do I. And that's why we could shorten it by 24 months, I believe. And we could build more buildings. Because time is money. And right now, with interest rates at 2%, we should be building like crazy. You know, we got some real old buildings on campus. And we got some real old things that are not safe. We have some kids that had carbon monoxide down in Milwaukee.
Yeah, there weren't carbon monoxide detectors in the rooms.
No, I mean, and we got some buildings that need to be built. The science building I'm talking about in Eau Claire, I don't know, what has it been, 10 years?
Built in 66.
What?
Built 1966.
Yeah, but how long have we been working on the science building?
At least 4 by 8.
What?
4 by 8.
Yeah.
That's 8 years. Now, for God's sakes, I'm not an architect, but even I could draw plans in 8 years, for Christ's sakes. Right? And that's what it is. I want government to be more responsive, and I want us to move. I mean, you make a decision. You don't have to. I mean, why do we have to go through? Chancellors have to sign off. Then it has to go to the Board of Regents. They have to sign off. Then it has to go to the Building Committee. Then it has to go to the Legislature. Then it has to have public hearings. Then it has to go to the Joint Finance Committee. Then it has to go back to the governor. Then it has to go over to DOA.
Then it's got to get let out.
Then you gotta publish the bids. Then you gotta do this. Now, I think we could shorten that, we could build more buildings and have a much better process. But I've only got 10 days left, I can't do that.
Okay, I'm gonna take us home here now because we gotta finish up.
No, you got one more question out there.
You don't want my one more question, you want somebody else's one more question. You haven't planned, you planted 2 questions, have you planted another question out there?
I know, I've been taking over your program, I'm sorry, Jeff.
All right, let me just ask you, have you met with your successor?
Huh? Pardon?
Have you met with your successor?
Yes, I have, nice guy. I met with him, it was supposed to be for 2 hours and lasted a little over 3 hours. And I hope to meet with him again before I leave. He seems to be a very nice guy. And I hope him well. I'm going to give him a list of what I think should be done. He doesn't have to accept it, but I'm going to give him a list of some of the programs. I still got 25 items I'm going to get done before in the next 10 days.
Okay, are you gonna list them or what?
What?
Are you gonna list them now, or you got them on your? Wait, here they are. Well, give us the top 5.
UW Madison Engineering Building, Working Capital Bill, Marinette Marine, UW Green Bay, Freedom of Expression Survey, the Fentanyl Initiative, YSIS, ATP. I'm gonna get them all done.
Okay. What's ATP? American.
It's the transformation procedure to redo the complete overhaul of the university system's computer system, and I won't get it all done, but we've got it in place to get started. We've already let some bids.
Okay, does your staff have that list? Because I think they got to get cracking.
Well, we had a meeting before I came down here, right?
Yes, sir.
Oh, you got them jumping. All right, I think we're going to close it up now, and I guess you'll be back numerous times this year, apparently. All right, how's your shoulder, by the way? Don't do any more water skiing, though.
Well, you know, I should never let Steve Noss drive the boat.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Governor Tommy Thompson. Thanks to Anthem, AOP Wisconsin, Walmart, Hush Blackwell, American Family Insurance, and XL Energy. We'll be back on Thursday, March 17th.